What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. The summer transfer window is here. Everything is in full swing, and we're going to be talking about a whole lot of reports, rumors, deals, and everything else. To look back just a little bit, I wanted to compile the top 10 most expensive outbound transfers in MLS history on this video today. There are rising young talents, there are some in-prime players, there are players who have been super successful on their new teams, and then there have been players who are definitely overpaid with the use of hindsight. So I wanted to run down this list of top 10. And before we get started, all of these fees were either reported by me or kind of vetted by me. I feel very confident in the final numbers for a lot of these. These are all nuanced or difficult. They're not public information. Like, there is no official announcement from teams on these fees. And there are add-ons and everything else. So I'm going to be careful in explaining some of those as well when you kind of going down the list what the guaranteed fees are. And that's what we're going to try to be going with. I do know that there are several add-ons that have been hit for some players, and I'll get into that as we go. But this is just trying to use my inside information, expertise, whatever, to make a pretty comprehensive list if we can. So, without further ado, shut up, stop talking. Just get on to the players. Here's the top 10. Just kidding, not into the top 10 yet. Let's start with honorable mentions. Here are a few players that just missed the cut. First of all, Gabby Pereira. This is one where NYCFC are very difficult to get information from. There hasn't been a ton of great reporting. I believe with add-ons, this could end up cracking the top 10, but not with the guaranteed fee, and also I have no idea what add-ons they were or if they got hit. Gabby Pereira only left a year ago, so I feel really strongly about that he's not in the top 10 at the moment. Daryl DK from Orlando City to West Brom, that was around $8.5 million. That comes close, and it was a good success story for Orlando. Got him in the draft. What a what a draft pick, right? Next up, Luis Araujo. I'm going to talk about him on our incoming transfers video. He just misses the cut. He was $10 million or maybe a little bit below. Depends on where the conversion rates were at that point, the exchange rates. And I believe the number 10 on this has a little bit of add-ons and a little bit of more value. So he's going to be left off. Very, very close, though. And lastly, Brandon Vasquez from FC Cincinnati at CF Monterrey this winter. He's been incredible for Rayados. But the transfer fee was about $8.5 million, I believe, or up to $8.5 million. So he misses the cut on this list, but he was a very good success story for MLS exports and a new market. There haven't been a ton, particularly U.S. International going to a Liga MX team. But again, this just shows more collaboration between the two leagues, and I think that we're going to see a lot more deals going back and forth from it going both ways for these big transfers, right? Like particularly clubs like Monterrey, Club America, Chivas, Tigres, they all have a lot of money, man. And again, like Brandon Vasquez, compensated very handsomely in this deal, and Cincinnati obviously got good value for their players, so we'll see more movement back and forth. All right, now I'm not lying. We are getting to the top 10 now. Into the top 10 we go. Number 10, a player who's going to be on both of these lists. Brenner. FC Cincinnati sold the Brazilian center forward to Udinese last summer in 2023. Brenner was phenomenal for Cincy in the 2022 season, 18 goals, 6 assists in like 2,200 minutes. They won the Supporters' Shield. He had a phenomenal strike partnership with Brandon Vasquez, who we were just talking about, and MLS MVP Lucho Acosta. There was some interest from Nottingham Forest. There were some other clubs, but Udinese ultimately got the deal done. And for a summer transfer, things haven't quite worked out as hoped for Brenner this season at Udinese. He's no goals, no assists in like 185 minutes. He missed a lot of time due to injury, and then it was difficult to kind of get back into the team with coaching decisions and everything else, but he did work his way he started the last few games for Udinese as they avoided relegation narrowly. So it's not like they were giving him starts for no reason. They were giving him starts because they believed that he could help them avoid relegation, and they did. Again, that's not the goals for Udinese, and we'll see what discussions that there are going to be with Brenner and the club and his reps and everything else about the future. But for this purpose, FC Cincinnati sold Brenner for top 10 MLS transfer, outbound transfer in league history to Udinese. Number 9, Gaga Sonina, the Chicago Fire goalkeeper factory. They sold him to Chelsea in 2022 for $10 million up front plus $5 million in add-ons. That is before another player on this list. He was at the time the most expensive goalkeeper transfer in MLS history. The rising U.S. international. He'll probably be the starting goalkeeper at the Olympics this summer. He spent last season on loan in Belgium with Eupen, and this is one of the brightest talents around MLS when he was sold. Chelsea coming in for a big-time MLS talent is super impressive. Well done by the Chicago Fire. I've spent a lot of time criticizing them for various things, correctly, in recent weeks. But one thing that they have done very, very well with is outbound transfers and youth development. There is going to be another Chicago Fire player higher on this list. But for right now, Gaga Sonina, will he ever make it into the Chelsea first team? Remains to be seen. That doesn't mean that he would be a failure because Chelsea have, I don't know, somewhere like 400 players on the roster, on the books. And again, particularly with young goalies, I am very, very much assuming he's going to be on another loan this year. We'll see what that level is, and we'll see how he's playing, and maybe he'll work his way into that depth chart in future years. But hell, like Thibaut Courtois was on loan for a long time from Chelsea before he got into the first team. Not saying that Gaga Sonina is going to be Courtois, who has ranged from, up to the literal best goalie in the world. So that's unfair, but just goes to show that it takes some time, particularly for goalies, particularly at this club like Chelsea. Number 8, Brenden Aaronson. The fee ends up at $14 million right now, and I will explain that. But it started at up to $9 million from the Philadelphia Union to Red Bull Salzburg in 2021. Up to $9 million, I was told every single dollar of those add-ons hit, so that made the fee $9 million. And part of that fee was a sell-on clause. And when Brenden Aaronson left Red Bull Salzburg for Leeds United for about $30 million US, Philadelphia Union got kicked back around $5 million. So that takes the total fee to $14 million for Brenden Aaronson. This is a masterclass in deal making from Ernst Tanner and the Philadelphia Union. I'm just straight up going to say it like that because he could have went somewhere for a higher initial fee, more guaranteed money up front. But it could have ended up badly. Like, say he went to a big Bundesliga team and he wasn't ready, or he went to an English team and he wasn't ready. Instead, he went to Salzburg because Philly, Brenden Aaronson's camp, and obviously Salzburg believed that that was the best spot for his development. Tanner joked that the deal got done the way it was because he could curse at them in German because he used to work for Salzburg. He said that in a nice way, obviously. But Brenden Aaronson going to Salzburg was the correct choice. Could have held out for more money. This is why, look, man, one of my biggest philosophies is, you hear the saying, it's not personal, it's just business. Like, that can be a load of crap because sometimes doing the right thing and caring about people instead of trying to extract every single penny out of any given deal is the right business decision. And this, first and foremost, is like when you have a collaborative effort between the club, Philly, and the player in his camp with Aaronson and his agents. They trusted each other and they believed it. Salzburg, he killed it at Salzburg. He was awesome. And then he went to Leeds, and it worked out for everybody from, that first step. He didn't quite work out at Leeds, spent this season on loan at Union Berlin. We'll see what the summer holds for him. But in terms of the training wheels, I guess another developmental club, I think would probably be a better way to put it. The better way, like, his career in Europe started off in the best possible way because the Union didn't try to extract every single dollar in a transfer. And because Brenden Aaronson's camp didn't try to extract every single dollar in his first contract. And beautifully well done. I love when things like this work out. When you do the right thing and you care about people and you care about development. And it also ends up being the better financial decision in the long run. Rather than Brenden Aaronson not working out in his first stop and then either going down the list in Europe with, less leverage or coming back to MLS. So, well done to all those involved. Number 7, Tati Castellanos. NYCFC to Lazio last summer for about $16.7 million. Again, depends on where you see the exchange rates. The deal was 15 million euros from Lazio. To Lazio, sorry. Tati wasn't with NYCFC for the year prior to this transfer. He was on loan at Girona, there a City Football Group, another City Football Group club, to see if that could help his value because they didn't get this 15 million euro offer that they wanted for Tati Castellanos the year prior. So he went to Girona. He was really, really good in La Liga. And last summer, Lazio came in and paid the fee, but it went from NYCFC to Lazio. So that's why it's 2023. Anyway, this season wasn't the best probably for Tati. I think that's fair to say. He still did have 6 goals, 5 assists in like 2,100 minutes. Not exactly what they hoped. I think not exactly what Tati would have hoped in terms of playing time as well, but it's a good player, man. Like, that's not so bad. Things can just be okay. They don't have to be great or awful. And I think that it's much more in the middle for this one for Tati Castellanos. He was incredible at NYCFC, led them to win MLS Cup in 2021, and then he stuck around for another half season after that as they chased and pushed for the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And that didn't happen, but again, Tati, for that year and a half from the start of the 21 season until he left in the summer of 22, just absolute superstar. This was another really good story of development from NYCFC. He was not the player he is today when he first got there. In fact, there are a lot of people saying that he wasn't good enough and he should leave, or why is this guy playing? I really liked him from the beginning, and I say that not to be like, you're the man, bro, listen to me, I'm always right, or whatever. I point out when I'm wrong plenty of times too. So I do want to say that, like, he came good. He came good. So Tati Castellanos, number 7 most expensive transfer. Number 6, Ricardo Pepi. In 2022, the winter, he left FC Dallas for FC Augsburg for around $17.5 million. This deal didn't quite work out. There were a few teams. There was some other German teams as well as an English team. FC Dallas were trying to keep hold of him for one more year. He pushed and forced his way out to get this move to Europe because he did not want to wait and risk that it wouldn't be there. Pepe's time at Augsburg wasn't great. 16 total appearances, 0 goals, 0 assists. Again, not so easy coming into a team that was in a relegation battle, as Augsburg were. Not a lot of room for development for young players, and not a lot of, attacking soccer to be played, and not a lot of ball possession. Anyway, the next season, 2022-23, he went on loan to FC Groningen. Worked out pretty well. And all in all, he got a move to PSV last summer. He had to kind of kick and scream and force his way out a little bit, make things a little bit ugly for Augsburg. And he got to PSV. Again, his playing time wasn't totally probably what you'd want. He was super productive per 90. But yeah, look, we were talking about Brendan Aronson, about picking the right step, not just the first step, not just the one with the most money. Who knows how this would have played out differently if he either stayed to Dallas until the summer of 22 or whatever. Who knows? But Ricardo Pepi, things I think are going to be all right for him. Good player. PSV is a good spot. Unless that he forces his way out again this summer. I don't know. Let's see. Ricardo Pepi, again, one of the most expensive outbound transfers in league history. Before he left that season, 21, he had 13 goals, 2 assists, in like 2,100 minutes. That team was a lot of fun. Him and Jesus Ferreira. Again, I think it was mostly a middling MLS team. But they gave you reasons to watch every week because of Pepi and Ferreira, so that was fun. Two young Americans coming through Dallas. Number 6, $17.5 million. $17.5 million. That's a lot for number 6, man. Number 5, PT Martinez. Somehow, around $18 million in 2020 from Atlanta United to Al Nassr. I'm going to talk more about PT in the incoming transfer video. If you were logging on for PT Martinez takes, which I don't really think that you were, but if you are, I'm going to try to not repeat myself that I'm going to say in the next video. But man, I thought he was going to be an incredible player in MLS. He was the reigning South American Player of the Year, won Copa Libertadores with River Plate. He was awesome, all of that, and then he just flopped at Atlanta. And then I don't know how they got $18 million from Al Nassr. Like, I get it, Saudi money, duh, that's the answer. But like, who the hell were they bidding against? Whatever, well done by Atlanta to get this deal where it was. PT is back at River Plate now. He was in Saudi for a little bit. He wasn't like bad per se, but he's not, the same sort of star that the deal makers in Saudi are looking for with their super ambitious projects. Now they have Ronaldo, Benzema, and N'Golo Kante, Firmino, going down the list. PT Martinez, as good as he was, as much name recognition he had in South America. Not quite those players. Anyway, 5th most expensive outbound transfers in MLS history. Number 4, Jean Duran, another Chicago Fire player. This deal to Aston Villa was $18 million up front with another $4 million in add-ons. I don't have any idea what those add-ons are or if they've hit. I'm going to assume not yet, just because it's not like he's played a ton. I'm sure that there's some combination of personal and team success. They still can hit, but again, he's only been there for a year. So I'm going to safely put him here. There's he could be ahead of a couple players, but again, with the add-ons, we don't know yet. Duran's lone season with the Chicago Fire, 8 goals, 5 assists in like 1,300 minutes. And well and truly, he didn't really start coming on until the summer. And he's gotten to Aston Villa. And this season, again, he's still a peripheral player because, again, Aston Villa are a very good team in the Premier League. That's not so easy to kind of break in. He's a young player, still rising, all that. All that to say is I think he had a very good season at Aston Villa. Had 7 goals in all competitions in about 900 minutes, right? Not so bad for somebody getting inconsistent playing time. A young player, he's only 20 years old, Colombian international. This was, again, like, Chicago have a lot of reasons to be criticized. Youth development, identification, pretty good at it. At least that they're ambitious as well. They signed him via the U22 initiative for about $2.5 million. And they got the deal done early, which is also really good. They were proactive. They signed him when he was 17. He couldn't join until he was 18. It was a year later because of when his birthday was. And immediately, a year after that, one season in Chicago, $18 million player, $18 million deal to Aston Villa. really good with identification development, giving him a chance to succeed. And then, I don't think that they wanted. I know that they weren't expecting or wanting to lose him after a season. They did not expect a bid of these sizes, this magnitude were going to come. And when it gets to this, you can't really say no. So John Duran, success story for the Chicago Fire. Speaking of success stories, number 3, Djordje Petrovic. The New England Revolution transferred him to Chelsea this last summer. For the deal was up to $19.5 million now, because as I reported, the initial fee was like $17.5 million. $2 million in add-ons triggered because of his performance in the Premier League. He benefited from an injury from the starting goalkeeper at Chelsea, and he took that spot. And look, I know I'm biased because we've watched him play in MLS, and I think really, really highly of him. I'd be very, very surprised if he's not the starting goalkeeper for Chelsea next season. But, of course, like, new coach coming in, depends on what the new coach says. Anyway, Djordje Petrovic signed for under $1 million and transferred for, like, he was the best goalie in the league. They went from Matt Turner to Djordje Petrovic. Phenomenally well done. That's great business. That's great talent identification, deal-making, everything else. The wheels have fallen off for the New England Revolution pretty much since he left. Coincided with the Bruce Arena stuff as well. But Djordje Petrovic, man, what a player. He's with Serbia at the Euros. I was talking to people around him, and it was like, there were bids from Nantes in France. And it was like, dude, if he goes to Europe, it was like, that's why there was the urgency as well last year for him to be transferred. It's like, dude, if he goes to Europe and is a starting goalkeeper, I promise you, not only is he going to be on Serbia's team for the Euros, he's going to be the starter. Let's see if he's a starter. But so far, he's on the squad. And again, what a player. What a success story by the New England Revolution. Number 2, Alphonso Davies. This deal was up to $22 million in 2019 from the Vancouver Whitecaps to Bayern Munich. I don't have 1,000% confirmation that the add-ons hit, but what hasn't he done at Bayern Munich? Like, he's won the league. He's played a ton. He's got, like, I can't imagine, like, did they write Ballon d'Or for $2.5 million in add-ons? Like, probably not, right? Like, so I feel pretty safe in assuming that Alphonso Davies, all of those add-ons hit. Man, what a development story he was in MLS. He's breaking through at age 15 or whatever for the Whitecaps. Bayern came in early. They agreed the deal kind of before he turned 18, so then he could leave when he was 18. Yeah, he's such a special player. Such a special player, and it's been a while now, obviously, because he's been at Bayern. Like, this was an MLS export. This was a guy who was playing as a winger for the Whitecaps, and then he goes and plays left back for Bayern, and he became one of the best left backs in the league. Real Madrid want him. Bayern want to keep him. Like, this was a dude playing at BC Place for the Vancouver Whitecaps a few years ago, and man, like, what a joyous player. What a great story. This isn't great analysis, but I don't have a ton else to say. What a success story. Speaking of success stories, the most expensive outbound transfer in MLS history, Miguel Almiron, Paraguay international from Atlanta United to Newcastle for $27 million in the winter of 2019. What a player Miguel Almiron was. Him and Joseph Martinez, man, like, that's on like the Mount Rushmore of most fun teams in the last decade in MLS for me. It's like them. It's Sebastian Giovinco's Toronto FC. It's Carlos Vela's LAFC, and it's Wilfred Nancy's Columbus Crew. I did that off the top of my head without planning. I didn't take notes or do the research. I feel decent about that. I don't know. Like, we'll see. If I forgot somebody, please let me know in the comments. But just as much to say is, like, man, that Atlanta team with Miggy, with Joseph, under Tata, with Gressel, with Tito Villalba, all that, like, so much fun. In his last season in MLS before he went to Newcastle, 12 goals, 13 assists, and 32 appearances. And they won MLS Cup. His first season, he had 9 goals, 8 assists, and 30 apps. Like, he came from Lanús. Just an awesome signing. Awesome team that he was. Awesome everything else. Can't say it enough. Went to Newcastle, and he's been an absolute constant for this team over the last 5 years or however long it's been. Last year, he had 11 goals and 2 assists in 2,500 minutes. Even as they have new owners, new very wealthy owners, they've spent money on other attackers, other midfielders, and guess what? Mickey keeps playing, man. So, look, this is a great player. The Saudi wanted him. Atlanta still have a sell-on clause, so this could go up just a little bit, which I couldn't believe that they worked a sell-on clause into this deal at $27 million. That was a premium cost, and they got it done. So, excellent by Atlanta United getting this done. Miguel Almiron, Alphonso Davies, both of those deals were 5 years ago, both in terms of money and in terms of, the gold standard of MLS exports. Hasn't been beaten. We'll see kind of what happens here. Thiago Almada, will it be you? Who knows? Speaking of, who's got next? These are some of the players that I think. Here are 3 players that I'm going to say 1,000%, unless their contracts run out. If they're transferred, they're going to be in the top 10 most expensive outbound transfers in the history. Thiago Almada, Cucho Hernandez, and Facundo Torres. Those 3 are stars. They're all known commodities. Cucho has obviously already been in Europe. Facundo Torres, Orlando signed him ahead of European teams. Thiago Almada was one of the top players in South America when Atlanta signed him. So those 3 players, like, even more, like, Almada, we're talking about, is he going to beat Miguel Marone's record? Cucho, for me, it's got to be like, Tati Castellanos, right? Like, why would Columbus sell for anything less than that? Like, it's not like they don't just want to make their money back for $10 million. Like, everything's gone great. So I think that'll be expensive. Facundo Torres, man, I think his value's dipped a little bit this year because he hasn't been so great. But this is another player that, like, I would be thinking in the 15, probably more than that. Who knows? Like, Uruguay international. Super good player. I think he'll fit really well in Europe. His game's going to translate very well. So those are the top 3 in my head that will really make some noise on his list. As for some others in the future, going left to right here, that's Federico Redondo, Inter Miami, Diogo Gomez, Inter Miami, Alan Velasco, FC Dallas, don't forget about him, and Nimfasa Berkimas from Charlotte FC. So those first 2 rising talents signed via the U22 initiative by Inter Miami, Redondo and Diego Gomez. A lot of people thought that Redondo was going to go straight to like a big team in Europe, not even like a developmental, like he's skipping the like Salzburgs or Genks of the world and go right to a Champions League team or a very good Europa League team, right? Diego Gomez, I reported, or like there's English interest in him. I can very much say that. Alan Velasco was one of the top players in South America when Dallas bought him, so that was a really good deal by them. Towards ACL, so he's kind of out of sight, out of mind. He should be back this summer. I can't wait to see him back. Dallas are not very fun without him, and Alan Velasco is a joy to watch when he's on his day. Then Berkimas, 16 years old. I've had some scouts tell me that, like, if everything goes right, he's going to be a $25, $30 million player. And there's ifs in that, and like, don't hold anybody to it. This is a literal child. Things happen, things change. But I convey that just to say that, like, this is an absolute elite talent in MLS right now in terms of coming through, because he made his debut at the beginning of the season. He's still a little bit away from being like a regular or even a rotation player yet in MLS because he just turned 16. So, but keep him on your radar because this kid's a really, really big talent. All right, everybody, that'll do it right here. Again, thank you for tuning in. This was pre-recorded as I am currently in Mexico, so didn't want the channel to go dark. I'll check in on the comments. Hopefully, I'm not reading too many of them while I'm in Mexico because I should be throwing my phone, burying it in the sand, and then go find it later when I'm done. Anyway, appreciate you guys, as always, for sticking around, and if you're listening here, you're a legend, as always. Cheers.